You sit across from a funeral director days after a death, and every line on the price list looks required. Only one of those charges is a fee you legally cannot refuse, and this business counts on you never learning which line it is. Here's the answer, so you can stop guessing about the rest of the page. The one charge you cannot decline is called the basic services fee. Across the country, it runs somewhere around $2,000 to $2,500. That fee pays for the funeral director's time, the staff, and the paperwork. Federal law lets them make that single line mandatory, and only that line. I'm James Bell, and I've spent years sitting in for families at this exact table. Most of them paid the whole list because nobody told them the rest was a choice. You can walk in already knowing the numbers because the law says they have to hand you a printed price list the moment you ask. Everything under that basic fee can be itemized and turned down. Itemized just means each thing gets its own price, so you can point at a line and say no to it. The casket is where the real money hides. The funeral home would love to sell you one straight off their showroom floor. That same casket is often marked up to several times what an identical one costs online or at a warehouse store. So the box alone can swing your bill by thousands of dollars. Here's the part they rarely say out loud. The federal funeral rule forces the funeral home to accept a casket you bought somewhere else. It also forbids them from adding a single handling fee for using it. You can order one, have it shipped to the funeral home, and walk in owing them nothing extra. Watch for the package deal too. A home may bundle the casket into one flat price, so you can't see the markup. You are still allowed to ask for the itemized list and pull the casket right back out of it. If a director tells you an outside casket is not allowed, that is flatly against the law. Embalming shows up on the bill looking mandatory, and it almost never is. There is not one state in this country that requires embalming by law when a burial or cremation happens soon after a death. That covers California, New York, and every one of the 50. Simple refrigeration does the same job and costs a fraction of the price. A funeral home cannot bill you for embalming. You never authorized in writing. So if you want to decline it, you say so in writing. You can send that refusal by certified mail if you want a clean record. They may also tell you a viewing requires it. For a short private goodbye, that usually isn't true either. If embalming is already printed on your quote and nobody asked you first, that is a line you're allowed to strike. Now here's where it gets worse, because the next move plays on love. A salesperson may steer you toward a sealed casket, sometimes called protective or gasketed. They let you believe it. Keeps your person safe down there. The Federal Trade Commission bars them from claiming any casket preserves a body. The plain reason is that none of them do. The rubber gasket seals the casket itself, not the remains inside it. A truly airtight box can actually trap moisture and speed decay along. You'd be paying a premium for a promise the law says they are not even allowed to make. The burial vault runs the same play. This time the funeral home points a finger at the cemetery. No state law requires a vault or a grave liner anywhere. The cemetery requires it as its own house policy, so the ground does not settle over time. A basic grave liner runs about $800 to $1,200. A sealed vault climbs from $1,500 to $5,000 and up. On top of that sits an opening and closing fee. That fee usually falls between $1,000 and $2,500. A weekend can add a surcharge of up to $800 more. Remember who actually holds the interment rights to that plot. It's the cemetery, not the funeral home. So that is the desk where you question the vault, and it's a policy you're allowed to shop. Add it all together, and the shape of it gets clear. The national median for a funeral with a viewing and a burial lands around $8,300. Once a vault goes on, it climbs to right about $10,000. Put the cemetery plot, the headstone, and the opening and closing on top. A real total often sits between $12,000 and $17,000. Out of that entire pile, only one figure truly ties your hands. That is the basic services fee, the $2,000 near the top of the page. None of the rest is a scam. It's simply a bill built to blur what the law requires and what you get to choose. Every other line is a decision you're allowed to make. even when the person across the table treats it as already settled. So the next time that price list slides across the table, read it like a menu. Federal law says that is exactly what it is. Circle the basic services fee because that one stays. Then go down the rest line by line. Say no to anything that is your money rather than the laws. If this pulled the curtain back even a little, subscribe to Eternal Rest. I'll walk you through the cemetery side of this same bill next. You have far more power at that table than anyone standing behind it will ever tell you.